their expectations. In the mighty name of Jesus. Father God, we give you all the praise. We give you all the glory. For in Jesus' mighty name we've prayed. I want us to even commit the minister that God will be using today. I want us to speak even into his life and say, Lord, speak through him. In the mighty name of Jesus. We're Christians, and so we're not just doing this just from the educational perspective. We're doing this also so that our lives will be changed. There are certain things that probably we need to change ourselves as parents, to support the children. Many times we're thinking about what the children need to do, but many times also we also need to look at what we need to do. And so I want us to speak and say, Lord, that even as he speaks today, we'll know what we need to implement in the lives of the children and also what we also need to change in our own lives. Someone talks about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the adult, because the adult is the one that is able to change and adapt and readapt to certain situations. I want to speak to the Lord and say, Lord, have your way in the mighty name of Jesus. Father God, we give you all the praise. We give you all the glory. Blessed be your name, Jesus. For in Jesus' mighty name we've prayed. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen and amen. We can kindly have our seats. Thank you so very much. If it's okay for us to maybe come a little bit forward so that we're not too far, and I think that will be useful for us. Okay, so we've started massively late, so we're going to go straight to the chase. We have our wonderful guest minister here, Mr. Okbai Fabi, who is here. And in fact, he was here even right from 3 o'clock, so he was here very early. So once again, apologies, sir, for the delay. So just to say some few things, and then I'll call him up, and then we go straight into it. Now, the reason why we have this program, I think I attended something similar like this many, many years ago, okay, here in church. And when we had that particular program, it was an eye-opener, okay? Because there are several things about the UK system that I didn't know. We come from Nigeria where things are different. So understanding how things work here. In fact, the first shocker I had was children don't repeat. And I was like, how on earth is that supposed to help my child? If I was speaking to my brother this week, he was just telling me that he made his daughter to repeat. And, here, they don't repeat. So, understanding that system really, really helps us to see how we can help our children to navigate it. Okay? And so that's why we're organizing this. So please, if you have any questions, the reason why we're having it this way as a very open meeting is we don't need to have any slide for us to be putting in questions. If you have any questions later on, we'll give you the mic, you ask your questions, and we'll be able to answer it openly. Okay? That's the idea of this, and I know that God will help us all in Jesus' name. So just to introduce the guest minister that we have, Mr. Yemi Fabi. Okay, he's a mechanical engineer, okay, by trade. Okay, so if you've ever seen people that have read mechanical engineering, it's a very tough course. Okay, so you go through a lot of rigorous mathematics and a whole lot of things. He's passionate about education and mentoring young people. Okay, Mr. Yemi runs a Kumon educational network. How many of us have heard of Kumon before? All right. So Kumon is a very specialized education system. I think it's from Japan. Is it Japan? And they have a very, very detailed curriculum from, in fact, I think from handwriting and pencil holding skills, if I'm right. How do you hold your pencil? Okay. Up until, probably even up to university, towards up to that. So he's specialized with that. He has a franchise with respect to Kumon, which is from Japan, he uses the Kumon method to teach mathematics and reading. Okay, he leads a team of seasoned academics in preparing students to excel, in different areas, in different exams, different curriculums. His style and expertise has helped many to get experience and, exceptional results, okay, and scholarships into different schools, all right? So you see different schools. We have the grammar schools. I know here in Bradford we have Heckman Wyke, North Halifax, different grammar schools. So he's really helped so many children with so many results to get into those schools, okay? And so he has expertise when it comes to teaching and understanding the UK education system, amen? So he has a strong foundation in children achieving very exceptional academic results and grades and achieving their full potentials. Praise the Lord. So we have this special person in our midst. I will invite him now to come and start the talk. And like I said, as we continue, we'll definitely have questions. So he's going to run through the presentation. And then, of course, we're going to have time for questions and go through all of that. But please, don't keep your questions to yourself. If somebody else has any question, you want to ask on behalf of someone else, that's totally fine. But that will be great. So with Jesus join our hearts, let's welcome Mr. Yemi Fabi as he comes to take the presentation.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. And can I just say a big thank you to Dr. David for putting everything together. When I got the call from, called the call from Dr. Fasai, although he was waving, telling me not to do anything, I said yes straight away. So it's an honor for me to be here to share with you guys today. My job today is just for me to lay the foundation. I'll try and, as much as possible, to give you the necessary information. I'll lay the foundation, and then it's up to you to go home and then for you to build onto it. So what they've asked me to do today is for me to explain and just go through the educational system, the UK educational system, so that at least you have a good understanding of what the system entails and what you can do. So one of the things I'll be doing, I'll be sharing stories with based on the children I've worked with. By the grace of God, I've had the opportunity of working with, I think I can easily say over 500 children. So, and I've been doing this for over 12 years now. So I'll be giving stories in terms of from my experience working with children. And also, if we have questions, like Dr. David said, you can then please write it down, and at the end, I'll be able to take all the questions. So can you just show your hands? If you want your child to be the best in school, can you just show your hands? Okay, very good. So if you want your child to go to Oxford and Cambridge, can you show your hands again? Okay, so I think I'm in the right place then. And the next question I'd like to ask is, what exactly have you done regarding that? If you've done anything, if you've done any research, if you've done anything, can you just please show your hands? Okay, so I noticed a lot of hands went up, but gradually, the number was just reducing. So, which is fine. So I'll go straight to it. So I'll start with the primary school, the early years. So I'll go through the key stage 1, key stage 2, key stage 3. I'll talk about the grammar schools. I'll talk about A levels, and I'll talk about the university. And then at the end, I'll give tips of how to raise champions. So if you want your child to be the best, some of the things that you can do, or some of the things that you need to avoid. So from experience, the mistakes people have made in the past, I'll share some of those things with you, and hopefully by the grace of God, you can then take this forward and run with whatever information that you have today. So, the UK system starts from the early years, so, and that's from age 0 to 5. So, and we call that that covers the nursery, the reception, and the reception is from ages 4 to 5. So have we got anybody like myself? My firstborn is just started reception. Have we got anybody in reception? Nobody? Yes? Okay, good. So now children tend to start school the September after they turn 4. So whichever one comes first. And in terms of the primary school education, we have the key stage 1. Now, the key stage 1 covers years 1 to 2, years 5 to 7, age 5 to 7, and years 1 to 2. So, and at the end of year 2, the children are required to write what we call SATs. So a lot of people do not know about this exam because the school, most of the time, they don't give you that information. They don't tell you that they write these exams. So what they cover is just maths and English, and it covers quite a number of topics. Now, the English is all about reading, so they call it reading, but it's more like comprehension. So where they give them a passage, and then they ask questions, and then they do SPAG, which is the spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So okay, I forgot to mention. So you can take notes as much as possible. If I'm going too fast, please just tell me to slow down, and then I can go over any information over again so that we're all on the same page. And from time to time, I'll be asking if we're all together. So if I need to go back, please just tell me to go back, and then I'll explain more. So I was just talking about the year 2 exam, the SATs exam that they write in year 2. Now, they tend to take the raw score. So let's say, for example, if the exam is out of 100, so out of 100 is the raw score. Then they take that and then they turn that into the standardized score. Now, the standardized score for the year 2 exams, they don't give you the information. They don't tell you anything about that, the result of the exam. So your child, if you ask your child, he or she might just come home and then tell you, oh, we've had a test. But the school would not really tell you anything. Now, the exam is set externally. So you've got people, they set the exam externally, but the exam is marked internally. So the teachers tend to mark the exam for those in year 2, the SAT exam. Now, what they expect for those in year 2, it's out of 115, the standardized score. So 115 is the highest, and 85 is the lowest. So I don't know if you've seen the report when your child comes on and then you see they tell you that your child is at, above, or below. Yeah? Okay, good, because I can see people nodding. Now, that's what they use. So they expect for you to be at, you've got to be at least up to 100. Now, above 100, then that means your child is working at above the expected level. And anything below that, then that means your child is below the expected level. So that's for that. And the topics they tend to cover in year 2 SATs, they look at time, addition, subtraction, fractions, and a bit of money. And from time to time, they tend to change the times tables. So they expect them to know, as at the last time, was the 2, 3, 5, and 10 tables. But that changes from time to time. So in terms of the information you need for you to be able to prepare your child for the exam, even though the school will always tell you not to prepare. So for you to prepare your child for the exam, I'll give you tips on how to get that information from the teacher, because the teachers are the best place, the best people to give you the information that you need. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't build good relationship with the teachers. And a lot of people, what they do in the morning, because we're in a hurry, you just drop your child immediately through the gate, and then you go. And what you then do is, when it's time for you to pick up, because you're also in a hurry again, you just pick the child, and then you leave. But forgetting the fact that you need to build a relationship with the teacher. But then you then expect the teacher come when you have the parents, teachers, when they give you that 30 minutes, but then you expect the teacher to open up and tell you everything you need to know. I've not attended the meeting with you, but I can easily tell you what the teacher has told you in the past. So if you ask how well your child is doing, you always get the generic answer, oh, she's doing really well. Okay? And okay, wow, there you go. It's even 10. So they'll tell you she's doing really, really well. And then the next line, they will always tell you, oh, there are some people worse off. Have we heard? Yes? It's kind of almost scripted. I can easily tell you, the conversation. Well, you won't blame the teachers because they don't know you. Now, they don't know how people would take the information. So if they tell you the exact truth about your child or where your child is, they don't know how you can handle it. So, but if you build a good relationship with the teacher, then you would notice that the teacher will relax a bit more. And the teacher will be able to tell you and give you pointers as to what you need to do. So, quickly, I'll just give you quick tips. During the holidays, Christmas, you can give the teacher a gift, just a little gift, just to thank them for looking after your child. That will go a long way. During the summer holidays, ask them, well, what are their plans for the holidays? Where are they going? Are they going anywhere nice? Just have that conversation and try to build that relationship. So that way, when you then need the teachers, then they'll come true for you. Because then when you need questions or when you need to know exactly the topics they are covering in school, then the teachers will be happy to share those information with you. Otherwise, they will just tell you, oh, everything is fine. And the other reason is because they need the funding. They always need to keep you happy because they don't want you to take the child out of the school because it's all about numbers. Because they need the numbers, and they need the money, they need the funding as well. Okay, so now let's go on to the key stage 2. Are we all together so far? Yes? Yeah? Okay. So now key stage 2 covers years 3 to 6, and that's ages 7 to 11. So you've got years 3 to 6, and then 7 to 11. Now, at the end of year 6, again, they write the SATs at the end of year 6. So you've got 2. One at the end of year 2, and then the main one at the end of year 6. Now, I want you to have this at the back of it. For most schools, you find out that the children have never done no exam before. So even the SATs in year 2, they don't really call it an examination to the children. It's just like a test. They're just trying to test them. So the first main exam a child will be sitting is the one at the end of year 6. So which only covers, again, the maths and the SPAG. So you've got the reading section, which is the comprehension. So they give them a story and things like that, and then they ask them questions, and they expect them to answer the questions. And then the spelling, the punctuation, and the grammar. And then the maths paper, they've got paper 1, and then paper 2, which is the reasoning. So these are the subjects they cover during SATs in year 6. Now, this one is extremely important, especially for those of you that your child or children are in the state school. Now, for private school, it's a bit different because they don't do SATs. So they do in-house exams for private schools. But for state schools, this is extremely important. And I always tell my parents to please make sure that they take this exam seriously. And I'll tell you why. Now, in terms of what they do, this is the first thing they will use. And I know this might sound shocking to a lot of you, but this is the first thing they will use to determine the GCSE results of your children. So the exam you do in year 6, they use it to project something that's going to happen 5 years later. So it's always good to make sure that your child performs exceptionally well. Because the downside to this is that once they form an opinion about a child, it's extremely difficult for them to change their mind. In fact, they believe that the maximum level a child can move is 2 grade. So let's say, for example, which I'm going to come to later on. Let's say, for example, they predict that a child can get let's say a 5. Let's start with a 5. Now, they believe that the maximum the child can jump will be maybe 2 grades up, which will be 7. So it's difficult for you to go from a 5 all the way to a 9. It's extremely difficult to achieve that. So now with this one, again, the standardized score, the maximum is 120, and the minimum is 80. The exam is set externally and is also marked externally. Now, with this one, you get a result. For some of you, I don't know if you've passed through that, you get a slip at the end of the year where they tell you the score, how well your child has done. So for some of you that have seen maybe 100, above 100, those that have performed well, you see that you've probably scored 120. So 120, which is the maximum score. So where you want to be above 100. So between 115 and, if possible, 120. Okay, are we all together so far? Yes? Okay. Now, before I go on to key stage 3, we'll talk about the grammar schools. So I know a lot of people are interested in the grammar schools, but unfortunately, around the Yorkshire area, we're not blessed with a lot of options. So we only have maybe 4 of them. So I normally classify Emistead and Skipton. I normally classify them as one because the Skipton is the girls and then the Emistead is the boys. So I classify them as one. So we've got the Hegman White. So we have the North Halifax, which is, I normally classify North Halifax, and Crossley Heath, I normally classify them as one as well. And then we've got Ripon Grammar School. So about 2 years ago, Hegman White, they changed the exam. So before now, they normally write we have the GL body, we have the CEM. So they normally write the CEM exams, but all of a sudden now they've changed the exam and now is FSCE exam. So the exam covers maths, the English, which is the comprehension, and creative writing. So, which is basically what they cover in school. So they do the exam goes, so they write the exam just before, at the beginning of year 6. So just at the beginning of year 6, that's when they write the exam, and it's usually in September. So my advice to parents is to have at least 2 years to prepare for the exam, even though they don't like people preparing for the exam. So I always advise people to start from year 4. So if you start from year 4, with the year 4 to year 5, that gives that child that opportunity to bed in, to really understand the process, what's required. And then by the time the child gets to year 5, then they know that, okay, yes, this is it. This is serious, and I have to take this seriously and prepare for the exam I'm about to write. Now, last year, I just found out that over 1,498 children wrote the exam. Now, it's been growing. So the number has just been increasing every year. So you've got 1,490 something writing the exam, and they only have places for 210 children. So, and then they have criteria as well. So they give preference to those within the catchment area. They give preference to those that have children, the teachers, teachers that have children in the school. They give preference to those that have siblings. So siblings that are already in the catchment area. And then they give preference to children in special needs. So those in care and things like that. So they give preference. And then they give the musical one, which sometimes I tend to debate, but then they said you have level 2, that gives you an advantage in terms of when they're making the final decision on the children. So in terms of the exam, we just found out recently that they now do ranking as well. So they rank the children for you to know. And they normally issue about 3 letters. So they issue the letter A, the letter B, and the letter C. So this is just Hegman White, and then gradually I'll move and I'll just talk about the other 2 grammar schools at least, so that you have a broader view, and then you can then make an informed decision if it's something that you want to do. So now the letter A are those that are guaranteed. So if you put Hegman White as your first choice, then your child is guaranteed to get a place. So if you do that, when you submit the application to the local authority, Now, if you get letter B, your place is not guaranteed, but if you call, they always ask you to call on Monday morning for you to know exactly where your child is on the waiting list. So basically, those that with the letter B, you've met the standard, but you're on the waiting list. Now, if those in A with the A letter, if they don't take up their places, then your child can then seize that opportunity and then they get a place. And the letter C are for those that unfortunately did not make the standard. So that's for Hegman White. Now, for Ripon, they write the GL exams, and about 6 years ago, they stopped doing the maths and English. So they just focus on verbal and non-verbal. And before now, the exam was conducted over 2 weekends in terms of Ripon exam. So you do the first paper, and then you come the following weekend, and then you do another one, and then they usually pick the best. But then they stopped doing that. So they've made the exam over. They write the exam on a Saturday and on Sunday, depending on where your child falls. And it's just the verbal and non-verbal, and they provide the cutoff. So the cutoff mark for every year changes. So as long as your child meets the cutoff mark, then your child will be offered a place. But the downside to Ripon is they are very particular about the distance. So the only disadvantage, those of us not living close to Ripon or the Harrogate area, is that the only option that we have is boarding. So except you want to move closer to that area, then you can then take advantage and your child will be given that place as a day student. Otherwise, it has to be boarding and you have to pay for that. So they pay, you can do the termly boarding or the weekly boarding. So that's up to you to pick. So what some of my students, what they've done is, and if you're thinking of moving, once you get the place, you got to make sure you move before Christmas of that year. So the result normally comes September. So before Christmas of that year, you should make sure that you're already living in Ripon or Harrogate. Otherwise, then they will withdraw the place that they've given to your child so far. Yes? Are we all together so far? Yes? I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, so, and the third one, which is the North Halifax. Now, North Halifax, they are not bothered about distance. Okay, so you can leave anywhere as long as you come to school early enough. So they are happy for you to commute and for you to get your child to the school. Now, they've also joined the FSCE. So you write the same exam as the Hegman White Grammar School. So it's exactly the same exam that you write. So, and from what we've just found out, all the schools now, they formed an alliance and then they now call it the Grammar Schools of the North. So basically what they're trying to do is that they are trying to make sure that whichever grammar school you go to, there isn't much difference. So the Hegman White, the North Halifax and Crossley, so they are trying to make sure that they are all together and they're all in sync. So I have a feeling eventually that they would do exactly what they do down south. And down south, what they do is they write just one exam, so which I'm going to talk about very briefly for those of you that might want to consider places like Eton College, and if that's what you want to think about. So I'll just touch on that briefly. So what they do is you do one exam, and then there's a cutoff mark for each school, and then they send the results of your child to those schools. If your child meets the cutoff mark, then you'll be invited for an interview and things like that. I have a feeling that eventually that's where they will be heading to, because to me it doesn't make sense for them writing the same body, this more or less the same exam, and then you go to one school, you write one, and then you go to another school just around the same region. So I think it will be one exam, and then there will be cutoff, and then they send the cutoff. Now, for those of you thinking of going down south, Now, the exam body most of them use is ISEP. So ISEP, depending on the school, it's also similar to the CEM, but this exam is usually done online. So it's again math, English, verbal and non-verbal. Now, each school you have to apply to the schools individually. So if you want 5 schools, you have to apply to each of those schools individually, and then but you write the exam. You choose where you want to write the exam. So they will ask you if you can speak to the head teacher of of the school that your child is attending, and if they can facilitate for your child to write the exam. So for some of the head teachers, some of them are very happy to do that, but others I've seen cases where they've declined. And some of the head teachers, for one head teacher said she's never heard of the exam before. So it all depends on the school. If the school is happy for your child to come in, they set it up, and then your child can write the exam. Then once the result comes, they then send the results to the different schools that you've chosen, and then they look at the result. If your child meets the cutoff mark, then they invite you to the next stage. Now, down south, some schools have about 3 or 4 stages. So the first stage is the ISEP exam, followed by an interview. And then after the interview, you then go for another exam, which is in-house. And then the final stage, they then invite your child for they normally call it an assessment day. So the child will spend more or less like half a day there for them to assess how your child, how they perform with other children and things like that. And then they speak to the head of boarding school, and they just put different activities just to see how well your child performs. So that's with that. Now, I'll go on to the key stage 3. And key stage 3 is for ages 7 to 9. Now, with key stage 3, 7 to 9, depending on the school, year 7 to 9, thank you, year 7 to 9. Now, depending on the school, now, some schools, this is where they choose their subjects. Now, some schools, they do that in years 8, and other schools, they do that years 9. So, but you have the core subjects. So you've got the English language, English literature, math, the science. Now, for some children, I'm not sure if you are aware that you can have the combined science and also the triple science. Now, the combined science can only give you 2 GCSEs. So you can only get 2 GCSEs, but with the triple science is when you do the subject individually. So you do the physics, chemistry, and the biology. So now before I continue, I'll just go back a little bit and then just quickly share on something. Now, there's something a lot of parents do not know, that they actually put the children into sets. So this is something that you need to know. Now, for some schools, they use numbers. Some schools, they use colors. And some schools, if they have the names of famous people, they use the names of the famous people that they have within the school. So basically what they just do is they group them based on the ability of the children. So you've got the set 1, are usually the brightest, and then set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5. So depending on the size of the school. Now, please, 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 and please, at no point should your child drop below the lowest they want to go is set 3. So you need to make sure you keep on top of this. And the only way to do this is by asking your child. So the first question you want to ask your child is, who's the brightest? All the children, they know. They will tell you straight away. And you ask them, where does he or she sit? They will tell you. And then the next question is, where do you sit? They will tell you. So from there, you can assess, you know where your child is. Because sometimes the teachers do not they won't tell you that they normally put them into groups. Some teachers will tell you, depending on how close and the relationship you have with the teachers, they'll tell you. They'll tell you, okay, we normally do an assessment and then we put them into groups. And this is the things that we do. So the ones in sets 1, 2, and 3, most of the time are the children that are ready to study. Now, from experience, for those in sets 4 and 5, it's a bit more challenging within that group. I have a friend of mine who's a teacher, and he's a supply teacher. And unfortunately for him, one of the days that he went there because of the money, he told me that he had to take it because of the money. But when he got there, he was given the set 5. And he was just lamenting. He couldn't do anything. As they were throwing things, they were rolling the chair, they called his name and everything, and he could not teach, he could not do anything. So it was a high school. So please, let's make sure we keep on top of these things and we know the group or the sets that your child belongs. So that way you can easily assess how well your child is doing. Now, if the school is open enough and then they tell you to do anything, please do not brush it off. Okay? Don't brush it off and say, oh, in Jesus' name, my child is this. Because I hear that a lot. I'll tell you a quick story. One of my, the student came late and we were preparing for an exam. And I told the parents, because one of the things I tend to do is I'm always honest with the parents. If I believe that your child will pass, I'll tell you, yes, I'm confident that your child will pass. But if I believe that your child is not going to make it, I'm always honest. And I'll tell you, I don't believe, your child, from what I can see, your child is not strong enough, but this is what we can do. So I had a meeting with the parent. She came and we were talking, and the child started. And immediately I could see that the child is not ready and he won't be ready for the exam. And I was honest with her, and the first thing she told me, in Jesus' name, my child will pass. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I like people that have strong faith. But at the same time, we have to be realistic as well in terms of our expectation. So when the result came, I was tempted to go ask her, in Jesus' name, did he pass? But then I found out that he didn't make the exam. He didn't make the because I already knew that he wasn't ready for the exam. So please, whenever the teacher tells you to do anything, keep an open mind. Listen to what the teacher is saying, even if you disagree. Okay? Please keep an open mind. Do what the teacher has asked you to do. And then go the extra mile, even if you're not happy with whatever information you've received. So, in terms of the optional subjects, so we'll go back to those choosing the subjects. Now, depending on what they have in the school, so you can then choose between humanities, which is history, geography, and religious studies. You've got arts, which is art, music, and drama. And then you have languages, which is the French and the Spanish. You've got technology, you've got TD, full tech, computing. And for some schools, you could then have the business, economics, and PE. So depending on what the school is able to offer, depending on the teachers that they have, so that would then, they'll tell you, they'll give you the options in terms of what your child can pick or what your child cannot pick. Now, the advice I'll give to you is always pick your subject early enough. Because once they have the quota that once they have the numbers that they need, it's always difficult for them to take extra people. So I've seen that in the past where if a child, and most of the time once you pick the subject, it's very difficult for them to change. So before you give the subject, make sure that you're 100% sure. Just make sure you've had that conversation with your child and that your child is 100% sure that that's the subject they want to pick. Because once they make that provision and then they've decided, okay, we've got 10 students in this class, then if you then turn around and say, okay, I don't want to do TD anymore, I want to do food tech, it's always difficult because then the teachers will then tell you that they don't have the resources for that. So before you submit, you need to make sure that you have you've covered everything that you need to cover, and you've had that conversation with your child, and then your child has told you, okay, this is what I want to do. Then you can then submit and then inform the school that that's the subject that you're choosing. Now, in terms of the grading system, they've changed the grading system from A star to A, B, C, and now they've gone from 1 to 9. Okay, so with 9 being the highest, so you've got 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Now, this is the GCSE grading system. Now, another thing that I need every one of you to know that all the students do not write the same exam. Okay? So all the students do not write the same exam when it comes to the GCSEs. So you've got those that write the foundation paper, and then you have those that write the advanced paper. So for foundation, if your child is writing a foundation paper, the maximum grade your child can get is a 5. So your child cannot get more than a 5 if they're writing a foundation paper. Now for advanced papers, those are the people that they can get the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9. So, and the 9 is the highest. Okay, so for 8 to 9, the top performance, which is the old A star. So, and then we've got the 7, which is the A, which is strong performance, the average, which is the 6, which is the B, the 5 is the C, the strong pass, and then you've got the 4, which is the old C, which is standard pass, and then you've got the below to low achievement, which is D to G, and then the last one is the U, ungraded. So those are the papers or the student that even the teachers struggle to even grade them. So that's the ungraded. Now, in terms of the examination bodies, and this is where it gets a bit tricky when it comes to high school GCSEs. Now, every one of them don't write the same exam bodies as well. So because you can have, so that's the conversation you need to have with your child as well. So you need to know the exam body. So if you're going to get a tutor for your child, that these are the kind of information or these are the kind of things that you need to know. Because they might be writing, so we've got the AQA, EdExcel, OCR, and quite a number of them. So some schools might be writing Maths AQA, English EdExcel, Science Physics OCR. So there are different combinations. Now, the way you prepare for these exams are different. The way they ask the questions are different. So they are not the same. So that's why preparing for GCSEs, you need to know exactly what your child is doing so that you can then have the tailor-made support that the child needs to be able to help that child. So you want to keep asking them, okay, what are the exam bodies that you guys are writing, or what exam bodies do you guys use? You can ask the teacher, they'll provide you the information. Now, before they write the exams, they would have done mock exams. And roughly about, depending on the school, from year 9, year 10, they will always give you the predicted grade. So what they're expecting your child to get at the end of year 11, what the grade will be. Now, for most parents, don't have a clue. They don't even know something like that exists. So you want to have a conversation with your child. If you ask your child, they will tell you. Even though most times they tend to hide these things and they don't want you to know. So if the grades are not that fantastic, then they tend to hide it because they know that you'll be upset. But it's always good for you to know early enough so that you can start doing, if there are things that you need to know and then things that you need to put in place, you can start doing something about it. So please always make sure you have that conversation with them. So even have the conversation with the teachers as well. Ask, what are the predicted grades for your child for each subject? They will tell you. Now, for some schools, they all usually provide a report where you can actually see what the grades are. So, and the good thing I like about, so the system or the grading system has the good side, and it has a side that I tend to struggle with a little bit. Because we all know that some people start late. And I have a feeling that my own, this is just my own assessment or my own feeling, that the system does not give room for those that tend to bloom late. Because we know, at least I know some people that I know that they start late and then all of a sudden everything just comes together and then they take off. Now, once they predict, so I'll say the good side about the grading system, and then I'll then share the side that I tend to struggle with. Now, let's say, for example, they've predicted that a child will get a 9, and all of a sudden, maybe during the exam period, the child falls sick, or something happens, and then after the exam, the child comes out with something like a 5 or a 6. Now, because they predicted a 9, they can always go back and look at the body of work that the child has done so far, and then they start asking questions. How come a child that we expect to get a 9? How come? So and then if they found out, okay, maybe something has happened, they can do something about it, which is the good. That I think that's the good side. And also, the good side is if they predicted a 9, and then maybe the child comes out with a 7 or 8. Now, if you can see that the child is maybe about 1 or 2 marks off the next grade, you can call for them to remark. So, and then when you remark, if they think, okay, they might then bump up the grade. I like that part of the grading system. Now, the side I tend to struggle with is if a child is being predicted a 5, and then all of a sudden everything clicks, and then the child becomes a 9. Well, I've had that happen, one of my students, and all of a sudden, they felt that he's done something, that he's cheated. That how come somebody from a 5, then all of a sudden, the miracle was happened to become a 9. So then they started asking questions. They started asking questions to probe, to find out what exactly has he done. In fact, what happened was, I was told that the teacher had to give him another exam for him to sit, so that they can then see if he was able to do that. So that part I tend to struggle with in terms of with the grading system. But like everything else, everything has got the good sides and maybe not so good. So yes, so that's with that. Now, so we'll go on to A levels. Now, for post-16, we've got the ages 16 to 18. Now, with these, we've got different areas of.
It will take 1 or 2 questions,
Okay.
if that's okay. Is that okay,
Yeah,
sir?
that's fine.
Yeah, thank you. I know we've gone through quite a number from primary into secondary, and I think a lot of people here probably fall within that kind of bracket. So,
Okay.
are there any questions? Maybe specific use cases? All right, so we have uncle here, auntie here. Anybody else? And then, okay, auntie also here. So 3 questions for now, and then you can continue afterwards, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I have a million questions on my head.
Okay.
But I don't want to bore everybody here because the entire education system is very confusing. And this is because this is me just arriving in this country 2 years ago. My eldest child is in year 6 now, and I just got to know about the grammar school and how it's different from the other schools a couple of months ago. My friend lives in Kent, and he's always been telling me, oh, your child has to go to grammar school. I didn't understand it until around the month of May. So I entered North Halifax for him, and because we started late, so I got someone to teach him and all of that. And then he wrote the exam and all. But on the morning of the exam, I was telling him, oh, if you don't pass this exam, you are going on a trip in France in January. I will not sponsor you for that trip. You will not go. And they said, oh, Dad, now you are giving me pressure. And I think that's the problem. He don't understand the pressure. You know, the exam when we are growing up, they do exam for us every time, and we write a lot. These kids here, they don't write, so their handwriting is not so good, and they don't understand the pressure that comes with the exams. Is it me? Okay. And they don't understand the pressure that comes with the exam. So, for example, they give them a mock when they get into year 6. They did it. They didn't even know until the result came out. We know that he didn't do so well. So they don't know when the exams are. They prepare them. So the question is, how can we, as parents, help them prepare for this exam ahead, and give them, put this pressure on them to say, this is key. This is an important exam. If you don't, these are the consequences. Because the schools don't do that. They don't want to pressure them. They just let them do whatever and however they want. And the teacher was just telling me, our parents consultative forum last week, that, we gave them spelling. The boy said he doesn't want to do spelling, and we didn't allow him. We didn't let him do it. How on earth would that help the child? So how can we, help them, understand the importance, and the pressure that comes with exams?
Thank you very much, sir. Should I go ahead? Okay, so I'll be going to the second part for me to be able to answer that question. And I'll be as honest as possible. So, and I expect this is the part that when I start talking about this part, everywhere goes quiet. So, hopefully, I'll get that same reaction as well. To be quite honest with you, sir, this is where collaboration comes into play. And this is what I normally call the circle of influence. So you need to make sure you associate yourself with the right people. Now, I normally take permission from the pastors, but is the pastor in the house before I continue? No? Okay. Right, okay, pastor. Now, the reason why I normally take that permission is because the fact that you all attend the same church does not mean that you guys will be in the same circle of influence. Now, the fact that you all come and you raise up holy hands does not mean that you guys are going in the same direction, and what you want for your child is not the same thing what somebody else want for their child. So the only way you can prepare is if you have the information. And the only way for you to get the information is if you are in the right circle. So if you have people, I want every one of you to please check around you. The people you spend time with. Who are these people? Do you have the same vision? Do you have the same goals? Because if you don't know, there's no way you can prepare, sir. But if you have the information beforehand, for example, case in point, your friend in Kent that had the information beforehand, he knew about the grammar schools. You're not the only one. I had a lot of people, same people in the same situation, that they had no clue about the grammar school just because they didn't get the information. And this is the reason why we're having sessions like this, that once you know, you can then start telling other people as well. Share your story with other people so that they can as well be informed, and then they can then start planning ahead and preparing ahead. So I'll give you an example. And the reason why I normally tell people that the circle of influence is extremely important. A student of mine, so what they tend to do is the parents took them to another family for them to do sleepover and for them to go spend time with this family. Now, in their own household, what they do is they do the common papers and they do extra. So they tend to study from time, for hours upon hours. But then they went to visit this family, and all the children what they do is just video games. So they wake up at 7 in the morning and video games all through. And straight away, when they came back and they told me, I knew there was a problem. Because then how do you then go back home and then you tell your child it's time for them to study? The first day they tried it, hell broke loose. And the children started protesting. Oh, we went to so-and-so's house. All they were doing is video games upon video games. From 7 in the morning till 3 o'clock, their parents never said anything. Why do you hate us that much? That everything we do in this house is just study, 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 or we do our homework and all that. So it's very, very important the people you spend time with and the people you associate with. Because if the children, if every one of them within their circle, if that's what they do, the children, that's what they know. So they know nothing else. There will be no argument, there will be nothing. And that's one of the things that we battle with in the center, even in my center. Because what the children will always tell me is, oh, Jake isn't doing it. John is not doing it. James is not doing it. How come I'm the only one doing it? Because all their friends, nobody else is doing it. So for you to be able to prepare ahead, sir, is for you to have that information, for you to know what are the exams, when do they do it. So what are the resources? What do you need? Say, because if you don't have that information beforehand, then there's no way you can prepare for the exam. I hope I've been able to answer the question, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much for everything you said so far. So my child is in year 5. So next year she'll be going to year 6. So at what point can we apply to these grammar schools? Is it before the end of this year, or so that she can be able to write the exam next year? Did you say September, October?
September, yes.
Okay, so at what point do we need to apply to these schools, or how do we go about it?
Okay, so you need to apply, and for most of them, the application normally opens just after Easter. So sometimes it might be by March, so you have to keep checking the websites. So you have to keep checking the website, and I think for some of them by March, but it's always open up until June. So it's the last day in June by 12 midnight. So June I think 27 this year. So it changes from year to year. So you just have to keep checking the website. Now for RIPON exam, you have to apply through the local authority. So that's for RIPON, for North Halifax and for Hegman White, you do the application, you open an account, they ask you to open an account, and then with the account, just make sure you keep the email and the password, because a lot of people tend to open their account and then they forget the email and password, and when the result comes, there's no way for them to retrieve the result. So just make sure you keep the password and the username, because that's where you get the results from. So you get that information on the website.
Thank you very much.
Thank
My first question is that what is the advantage of the grammar school over the non-grammar schools? Because in our area here, in Bradford, there is no grammar school. There are a lot of factors. Some people, it is not convenient for them. I know a family very depressing, and their children go to grammar schools, but they travel like an hour and a half there. So not everybody wants their child to go through that. So for us, most children are not going to grammar schools. We have academies like Christian Academy in Bradford. We have other academies, other secondary schools, which when we check their records, they are doing equally well. So is it that the grammar schools are more, do these schools have a chance? Do they stand a chance beside the grammar schools? My second question is that GCSEs, a colleague of mine was saying to me that they write GCSEs from year 8 or year 9 when she was growing up. So I'm like, I thought GCSE was for year 10 or year 11.
you.
So are there two GCSEs, and what is the difference?
Okay, so from my experience, virtually most schools, I won't say all, but most schools are actually good. The teachers have good intentions, but the issue are usually the people that attend the schools. And case in point, that's why, depending on where you live, you always find that the good schools are always in the good areas. So you permit me to say, regardless of if you have the best teacher in the world, if the children are not willing to learn, how would you teach them? A teacher is as good as the students, because I normally tell when we get the result and then the parents come to me and thanking me and telling me what I've done, I always tell them I've not done anything. I didn't write the exam. All I've just done is I've just laid the foundation, because if the children are not good, I can teach them from today, from Genesis to Revelation. If the children are not ready to learn and they're not good enough, of what good is that? So the main problem they normally have in some of these schools are behavioral issues. So instead of the teacher teaching, they spend their time telling the children, sit down, stop talking, can you listen? And that takes up a lot of time. And that's where the advantage of private schools and the grammar schools, because you have like-minded people. And where you have like-minded people, the environment is different. The teachers are able to teach. And the children, at least, not all the children, because even in the private schools and the grammar schools, they have issues. Let's be honest. Children will always be children, and not every child will always want to learn. So there are issues. It's just that the percentage of the issues they deal with, it's less. And because they tend to, in quote, because even sometimes I feel that, I don't know, this is just me. They tend to say they pick the best of children. So it's a selective school. So they select the best of the best. That's what they say. So even though sometimes I tend to have an objection to that, but that's a different conversation entirely. But it's all about the people that attend the school. And that's why sometimes I struggle with the Ofsted, because people tend to use the Ofsted report. In a way, I struggle with it. And the reason why I struggle with it, if you tell me you're coming to my house to visit me, what would I do? I'll clean up. I'll prepare. I'll make sure everywhere is tidy enough for you to see. I think they need to tweak the Ofsted a little bit without telling the school they are coming, and they should just come in there unannounced. That way, they will be able to see the clearer picture of what's actually going on in there. So you can use the Ofsted report, but what I normally advise parents to do, which I tend to do, just take a drive, park in front of the school, sit down, and watch. That way, you get a lot of information. If you see the caliber of people bringing their children to the school, if you think, okay, I can actually associate myself with these people, then you know you're in the right place. But if it's a place where right from the gate, the children are swearing, the parents, they're shouting and screaming, then, I don't know, you might want to think again and reassess. Or after dropping the children, you see that within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the whole car park, all the cars are all gone. That tells you something, that the parents are heading somewhere. Yeah? That they can't wait, they need to be somewhere. But if you park and then you see after dropping their children, they're all hanging around and having conversation. Conversation at 9 a.m. in the morning. And they're not bothered out, they're not even looking at the time. That also tells you a lot of things that you need to know. So you can get a lot of things by you just parking there, just stay there and just watch. You will pick a lot of things. And then ask questions. Stop by. Ask the parents, what do you think about the school? What has been your experience? Has your child faced any issues? How did they deal with the issue? Then if you have the chance, if you're lucky enough, speak to the teachers as well. Like I told you, most of the teachers, they have good intentions. Good intentions. And the teachers are ready to teach. But the problem they tend to have are the children. And like I always tell people always think that, especially in the UK, people think that the responsibility of educating our children falls on the government. But I always tell you that the responsibility falls on you, the parent. It's your job to educate, to take charge of the education of your child. I'll give you a quick story as well. I had this family, they came to see me for an assessment. Now, this boy is struggling. Now, this is somebody that is in year 11, but by the time I did the assessment, it was somebody of year 1. Okay? Now, think about it. Somebody in year 11, the assessment came out as somebody in year 1. Now, they blamed the prime minister. They blamed their mayor. They blamed the MP. They blamed the teachers. They blamed everyone else. But what they never did was to take responsibility. And guess what the mom did? And this was the height of everything. And I almost fell to the floor. And then she turned around to the boy and then asked, is this something you want to do? I was shocked. I was lost. Because this was somebody this boy is struggling. Now, you tell me, ask a child, who would like to do anything? I, for one, as an adult, I don't even want to do anything. And that's the first thing I normally tell my students. So they come in grumbling, I don't want to be here. I tell them, I don't want to be here myself. So you don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. So, but we have to be here. So I tell them, do you know what time I have to get up in the morning for me to be here? I want to be in bed as well. You want to play football games on, I want to watch TV as well. So nobody wants to do anything. So you asking a child if they want to study. Nobody. If I give you an option as well, Monday morning, where would you like to be? Thank you. It all depends, like I said, it all depends on the area. So it's the area. And that's why you find out the houses are very expensive in certain areas in comparison to other areas as well. There is a reason for that. So it's all about the areas. And like you mentioned, some people spend 1.5 hours. It's all about sacrifice. What do you want for your child? So what are you willing to pay? So it's all about what you want and what you are willing to pay. So it's the area, regardless of the school. Like I said, all the teachers, they have they want to educate. They are passionate about what they do. I've spoken to a lot of them. But some of them, you can see that their hands are tied. So even politics, even the trust as well, the academies, there's so much politics going on and everything. But the teachers are there. They want to really teach. They want to really educate the children. But it's all about those receiving the message. If I have a message, but if you're not receiving the message, of what use is the message? So it's all about the children. And that's why I was talking about the circle of influence. It's all about like-minded people. If you have people that share the same vision, the same goal, it's very easy. It's easier for the teacher to teach. So in that environment, they will be able to teach. The children will listen. They will sit down. There will be no fighting. There will be nothing. And the teacher will spend more time teaching the children rather than spending time telling them to behave themselves. And they know that if they then report the children to you as the adult, as the parent, you would do something as well. So you'll find out these schools, they'll call you in, they tell you that your child, the grammar schools, they'll tell you that this is what, and some of the schools, because of the reputation they have, they always tell the children, the discipline, it's all about they discipline the children as well. So one of my students went to Ripon, and on the first day was asking questions, and the next thing the head teacher said is, you're allowed to ask all your stupid questions today. By tomorrow, everybody falls in line. And he was shocked. And that was Ripon Grammar School. So it's all about the area. So, and the people that you have there. So, and the parent was very happy when the head teacher is saying that. Straight away. So because all the feedback I've got from Ripon Grammar School, the children are well-mannered. It's like some of the things that the parents told me, it's like a military school. So in terms of the way that the children move and everything. So it's all about the area and the people, the children. Sorry. Yes. Can you just? Okay, now, so no, it's the same, but it's just that sometimes if you feel that your child is ready, now some schools offer that and some schools don't. So some schools, they might approach you, they can tell you that, yeah, your child is ready for the GCSE. So if you want them to write it early, it's entirely up to you. You can put your child forward and then the child can write it, yes. So it's the same. It's just that some schools tend to promote that and they advise the parents. They might tell you, oh, we believe that if you're, and some of, I don't know if you've had that conversation with the school, they'll tell you, oh, if your child writes the GCSE today, this is the grade. So if it's something that you want to do, yes, so I think some schools do say it's the same GCSEs.
Thank you. My question is on the subject combination. So for a child that wants to do triple science and saying that no, he must do combined science, and he say he wants to do triple science, that being the same, and chose at the end of the day we asked him to choose combined science. In that regard, what can we do? Because he said he's interested in triple science and he has already chosen a combined science. So is in that category. That's one. Then, secondly, again, notice that there are some schools that you want to change your child from that school, but they refuse to let go. So in that case, what can you do? Because you have tried all means to take that child out of that place, but no way. So what can you do in that situation?
Okay, so in terms of the combined and triple science, it's because they've done an assessment. So, and in that situation, it's because the child has not performed well enough. So that's why they tend to advise combined science over the triple science. Now, if you put your foot down as the parent, eventually they will succumb and they will allow your child to do it. But it then falls on you because what they are trying to do is they're trying to safeguard in terms of the results. So they are looking at the results with the child and the ability of the child. That will the child be able to do this? So would the child be ready for the exams? So it's up to you. You can have that conversation that this is what you want your child to do, and then eventually, if they are able to accommodate him, they will allow him do it. So, and in terms of the second question, what was it? So moving the child from so from now it's what I normally tell the people to do, because what people tend to do is they go to the local authority and you do the application. But I normally advise people do it the other way around. If you can find out if they have a place in the school that you want your child to go to first, find out that they have a place, then approach the local authority and then tell them that you've spoken to X and Y school, they have a place for your child and you like to, then you make the application. Because then that way it will be easier. Now, if I don't have all the information in terms of why they don't want to let go, it will be difficult for me to really tell you what to do, because I find it strange that the school would not want to let go, because at the end of the day, it's your child. You choose wherever you want your child to go. So there might be more to it for them not wanting the child to, if a child is outstanding, what they will just do is they try to convince you to please leave your child with them. Or because I do not see any other reason why they want to stop you from taking your child, except maybe the school that you want to go to has no space. So if they don't have any space to accommodate the child, then it might be the local authority then telling you that maybe the best thing for you to do is just stay where you are. So I always advise, try to find out if they have a place in terms of the school you want to go to. Make sure that there's that space for you. Then make the application and then approach the local authority. So there's no much difference. It's just that the triple science, it's individual subjects. So it's just physics, chemistry, biology. So you can get 3 GCSEs. Now the combined, you can only just get 2 GCSEs. So it's not, they don't separate them. They keep it as just combined. Just compound science. That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Is there any advantage if you want to do maybe things like medicine or engineering, you can take triple science?
That's correct. Yes. So there are advantages. So if you're thinking that way, you want to be on the triple science. Yes. Thank you.
All right, so I think you can continue now and then we'll have more questions anyway.
Okay, so as we were saying, so we've spoken about through the questions people have asked. We've talked about the state schools, and within the state schools, you find out that there are some community schools, and you've got the academies as well. So so that's yes. So which comes on that community and all that. So that's run by the local authority, but still funded by the government. Now, in terms of the academies, they are still funded by the government, but they are independent. So they have the trust. So the trust tend to run them. And then we then have the independent schools. Now, independent schools are the private schools. But you would notice that there are some schools that have the grammar school in the name, but they're actually not grammar schools, they are private schools. Like the one you have here, like Bradford Grammar School. Now, Bradford Grammar School, it's not a grammar school, it's an independent school. So a lot of people tend to confuse the two. And then they usually think that Bradford Grammar School is actually a grammar school, and then they apply only for them to find out that they need to pay. So it's an independent school, but some of them have grammar school attached to it. Now, there are some schools as well that have the grammar school attached to them, but they've taken out the grammar status out of it. So there are no more selective schools, but they've just retained the name. So one example is Batley Grammar School and Tadcaster Grammar School. So they used to be grammar schools, but they're no longer grammar schools now. So you don't have to apply for the entrance exams. There are no entrance exams. But from what I've heard, Tadcaster Grammar School is still good. So they still kept the standard, and I had the student that went there as well. So they still kept the standard, even though they are no longer a selective school. Now, in terms of the A levels, so I'm just going to talk about the post-16 education, and then I'll try and move forward from there. So now, in terms of post-16, we have different ways of navigating the post-16. Now, you've got the A levels, which is the advanced levels. That's usually for 2 years. Now, beforehand, we normally have the AS, which they've stopped. So the AS is the first year, and then the A levels, but then they've stopped the AS level, and it's just the A level. So at the end of 2 years, after the A levels, you then apply through UCAS to go to university, if that's the avenue you want to take, or if that's the avenue your child decides to take. So, and with the A levels, you can do 3 or 4 subjects. So there are some children that do 3 subjects, and some of them, they do 4 subjects in A levels. Now, the combination, what I normally advise people to do, I always ask people to work backwards. So you know the uni your child wants to go, know the course that they want to do, find out the combination, what they need, the grades and the combination they need. And then that should then help you to make that informed decision. So if they need maybe physics, chemistry, math, or whatever combination, at least you have that information that that's what they need for them to be able to get the course that they want. So please spend that time, do the research, go over anything that you need to find, know the uni, narrow it down to maybe 5 unis that you want your child to go. You can pick some of the Russell group, which is the top universities, and then you pick the middle, and then you pick maybe 1 or 2 on the lower level, so that at least you have a spread or a range in terms of the application. So once you know the combination, then your child can then pick the subject. Now, in terms of the grading, it's usually A star, A, B, and C, just in terms of the A level. So depending on the combination they need, some schools might tell you you need A, and some schools might tell you you need A, B, B, depending on the course that your child wants to study. Now, in terms of the other ones that we have, you've got the vocational qualifications. So now that tends to prepare the children for work-related um, routes than the academic studies. So if that's something that you want your child to go, you've got quite a number of them. You have the BTech, which is the Business Technology Education Council. So in terms of the BTech, now this is offered by Pearson, which is a company that runs that. So and it's available in terms of wide range of subjects. So you can have it in health and social care, you can have it in engineering, IT, business, level. So and the levels range from level 1 to 7. Okay? So you can take that in school or at a college as well. So, and there's a difference. There are two types. So you've got the college and you've got the sixth form. Now, in terms of the sixth form, they're a bit more strict in terms of the dressing of the children, dress codes. So I don't know if you would have noticed that those in A level, some of them you see them corporate, dress corporately in ties, and the ladies in suits and all that. So those are sixth forms. Now, and they cannot just come and go as they choose. In terms of sixth form, they are very strict. So you've got to be there at a certain time, and you cannot leave until the end of day. So regardless of if you don't have any lessons, you cannot leave. You've got to remain within the school premises. So that time they can tell you, you can then go to the library, you can do other things. So, but you have to be within the premises. So they are very strict. Now with the college, on the other hand, there are no dress codes. So you can wear pretty much whatever you like. And if you don't have any lesson, you can come and go as you wish. So your child can leave at any time, your child can come at any time. So you would then have the MVQs, which is the National Vocational Qualifications, and that just look at competency-based assessment in the work environment. So you've got the levels 1 to 5. So this is kind of like suitable for people already in jobs or apprenticeship. And you've got not too long ago, around 2020, around the COVID 2020, they introduced the T levels, which is the technical levels. I don't know if there was a lot of adverts at the time where if you on the radio and TV, you can see that they were just talking about the T levels. So in terms of the T levels, it's also a 2-year qualification after GCSEs, and it combines classroom learning with 45-day industrial placement, and it's equivalent to 3 A levels. So you've got so the classroom learning, and then 45-day where they for 45 days they have a placement where they go work in the industry for them, and it's equivalent to the 3 A levels. And then you have the apprenticeship. So in terms of the apprenticeship, it's paid, but it's work-based as well, so training, and you just have the employment with study. So depending on the company and then depending on the program, they have you might have some maybe months in the classroom and then months in the placement, or for some people, you have some days in the classroom and then some days while you're working as well. So depending on the course and how it's been run. So you can have that. And then you have the City Guilds qualification, like again, focuses on a wide range of subjects in terms of like construction, engineering, health and safety, and things like that. So that's pretty much for post 16. And then you've got ages 18 and above, which is the university. You can then have, so you've got where they apply through UCAS. So you have to have your application, they write their personal statement. Most of the time, most of the colleges and the sixth form, they always provide guidance for the children in terms of what they need to do, and they help them with their personal statements as well. And then you pick up to about 5 universities. And then once you submit your application, you then wait. Then depending on the course and the requirements of the course, as long as your child meets the grades that so they normally give an offer, a conditional offer. So the universities normally provide the offer before they get the results. And it's usually a conditional offer, provided that your child meets those grades, and then they can then get that the offer becomes unconditional, and then your child can then go into the university and then start the course that they've chosen to start. So, okay, so in terms of the system, like we said, I've said, please apply early. Whatever school that you want a child to go, apply early, visit the schools, understand in terms of the requirement, their catchment areas, the criteria that they use, check the ratings, the Ofsted ratings, speak to the teachers, build that relationship with the teacher, making sure that at least you know what's going on in class. So if there's anything, tell the teacher that they can be honest and open with you, and you're always there to listen and to implement whatever advice that they've asked you to do. Now, in terms of building bridges, so like we said, please seek information, seek knowledge like what we're doing today, ask questions, people that have gone ahead of you, people that have children in whatever school you want them to go to. Ask them, how did they do it? What did they do? Where did they go? What materials did they use to prepare their children for the exams? Or if you know that the children are already in A levels, doing their A levels, speak to them about the high school. What did they do? How did they navigate the challenges? What challenges did they face? So by speaking to people, asking people their opinion, they will be able to share their stories with you, and then you'll be able to learn from other people. So whatever mistakes that they've made, they will share with you as well, so that you don't repeat the same mistake again. So like I said, make sure you have like-minded people around you. So associate yourself, know the friends of your children as well. Make sure that you know who they are spending their time with. Invite them to the house. Know them, know their parents, find out more about these children that they spend, because believe it or not, they spend more time outside than they spend with you at home. So, and also, as parents, please create time for the children. Speak the language of the children. Find out what's going on. So most of the time, the children will always tell me that my parents will always tell me, do this, do that, do this. But I always tell the parents, show them how to do it. Because half of the time, the parents are nagging, constantly telling them, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? You should be doing this. I expect you. At your age, I was already doing this. So please, the era, it's different. Yeah, so the era is different, and I always tell the children as well, because most parents will always tell the children, when I was in school, I was the top of the class, so I was the first position, and I always tell the children, well, it's true, but at least I don't know about that, because everybody's the top of the class. So if everybody's the top of the class, who was the second and who was the second and the middle of the class? So please spend time with it. Find out how their day went, what they did in class, any challenges. Create that atmosphere where your child can come to you. I'll speak to the fathers in the house now. As the father in the house, are you one of them, when you come into the room and everybody else is leaving, immediately you walk in and then all the children are walking out because they don't want to spend time or they don't want to even sit there? So open up to them. Share your challenges as well. Be honest with them. Where you've not done well, tell them that you haven't done well. Even your own experience, share your own experiences with them as well. So what you've not done, even if you maybe in school and everything. So everything shouldn't just be good, excellent. So because then at the end of the day, you're not giving them balanced opinion. So if you've had challenges, be honest and be open up and then tell them, this is the challenge I had, but this is what I had to do to navigate this. And understand them as well, because it's different. Because that's one of the things I tend to do with the student. I tend to come down to their level to speak their language as well. And sometimes that makes them relax, and then they know, oh, he's one of us. So I normally find out what's the new thing going on in schools now. And while I was teaching the other day, I found out the latest one they were talking about, which is the bombastic side eye. So when I was teaching and they were all looking at everything, and I just chipped that in, why are you giving me the bombastic side eye? And they all burst out in laughter. How did you know? Where did you get that? So things like that make them trust you even the more. If you're speaking their language, if they know, okay, it's one of us. So please make sure you open up, speak to them, find out the challenges. What are they going through? What's going on? Because if you create that atmosphere, then they will open up to you, and then you'll be able to know what's exactly going on in their mind. Otherwise, if you just ask them, oh, how did your day go? It was fine. What did you do? Nothing. So you just get the one-line answer. Oh, what did you do today? No, it was fine. There was nothing. Don't worry about it, mommy. You won't understand. Oh, don't worry about daddy. Oh, what subject? What did you do in chemistry? I can't remember. Oh, where's your book? There's no book. We're not giving. So they are quick to give you that one-line answer, and it's because they don't. Number one, the children don't want to let you down. But if you create that atmosphere of where they can open up to you, then they know that they can pretty much tell you anything, and they won't be judged. And please do not compare them with other children as well. Please. Because that tends to affect them. And when you're teaching your child, or if you're showing them, so for example, the one they normally tell me a lot is, oh, my mom or my dad would tell me I shouldn't go on social media, or I shouldn't spend most time on games and all that. But half of the time, my mom and dad, they're all on Instagram, on their phone, and then pushing their phone. So they watch. Whatever you do, honestly, they watch. And like I always tell the parents, the children are the true reflection. What you see in your child is a true reflection of who you are. Because the children are just like sponge, and then they just speak. So if there are things that you can see that you're not happy, that maybe some of the things that the children are exhibiting that you're not happy about, maybe you might want to just sit down and then think inwardly, and then check yourself. What am I doing? Because all these children, whatever you see them do, they pick it from you. You are their role. They watch you. And I always tell the parents, if you are not the role model of your child, then there's a problem. If your child is going out and then they ask you who's your role model, and they're calling somebody else on the outside, then you as a parent, you need to start checking yourself. Because then if your child doesn't see you worthy to be their role model, then there's a problem. Because if they ask them, who do you want to be like? Oh, I want to be like my mom. That should be the response. Oh, I want to be like my dad. Why? Oh, my mom is this, and this. My dad is this and this. But then if it's, they ask them, who's your role model, and then they're telling them KSI, or they're telling Paul Logan, and, calling people on the outside, we need to retrace our steps and start thinking again. What do we need to do differently so that our children or your child will begin to trust you, and then they open up to you? So, in terms of what you can do to raise champions, please set goals. Set goals. Because a lot of people, we don't have things written down. What do you want for your child? I have a parent, and when I met this lady, she blew my mind when I went to visit her. Sometimes she will always invite me to come, and then we sit down, we talk and everything. So the first time I met the lady, she told me right from the child, when I met them, the daughter was still in year 2. This was somebody in year 2. She's found out how to get the child into Oxford and Cambridge. She's done all the research. She's found out all the feeder schools, what she needs to do, where the child needs to be at every point in time. I myself, I was challenged. I was like, wow, you've done this much, and believe it, she's been following that meticulously for the child. And then everybody wonders when when they see the child doing well, or when they see everybody wants to become Usain Bolt, but if you find out the training and what Usain Bolt goes through, nobody wants to do it. So everybody only sees the glory at the end. Oh, the child, what did he get? All 9 A's. But then you don't want to find you miss the part. Okay, what did you do to get all the 9 A's? All the children, you see that they spend time studying. So if your child is not studying and then all of a sudden you want them to get 9s and all 9s, it's not going to happen. And I hope you're not one of the people that will say, in Jesus' name, it will happen. Because if you don't put the work in and then we just expect things to happen overnight, things will not just happen overnight. You know, I told you it will go quiet now. I can see that it's gone quiet. So please, set goals, write it down, make it plain. Talk about it. Let everybody, your children, share with your children as well. Get their input. Let them also add to it. Have that conversation with them. Okay, this is the plan. Discuss it with them. Let them have an input in it, in terms of the plans as well. Because by so doing, you're carrying them along. They know exactly what you're thinking for them. Because believe it or not, what I've found is most of these children, they don't really understand. They don't get it. They don't. So to them, whatever they do, number one, they're doing it to just make you happy. And number two, they're just doing it for you to get you off their back. So they don't really understand why they're doing what they're doing. And that's the questions I get most of the time. The children will just keep telling me, we're coming to hell. This is hell. You're just bringing us to hell. Why are we studying? They don't get it. Why do I have to do this exam? Why do I have to do that? I don't have to do anything. So it takes time for them to get it, for them to really understand what you're trying to do. But if you have that conversation from time to time, explaining what you're trying to do, carry them along. Because one of my students, we're having meetings, because one of the things I tend to do is I sit down, I have meetings with the parents, and I get involved. You know, when mom and dad, they're having differences, so mom will come see me, dad will come see me, then I'll have to speak to dad separately, speak to mom separately, speak to the child separately, and then we'll all come together to then have a final meeting. So, but what I find is most of the children will always tell me that, oh, they make all these decisions without even telling me. Or they do all these plans, have all these plans without carrying me along. So one of them told me, oh, they signed me up for this Kumon thing, but they never told me anything about Kumon. They didn't even mention it to me. They just told me to get in the car, and then they brought me here. So whatever you want to do, please speak to them about it. Carry them along. Let them know what you're trying to and why you're doing what you're doing. And ask for their own input as well. Let them also have a say. So that way they will trust you even more, and then they'll be able to open up. They might not accept it. They might not be happy doing it, but at least they know why they are doing it. So, and that's something that I have to learn, because they always want to you have to give them a reason for everything. You have to give them the reason for everything. So if I'm teaching and tell them, can you stop talking? Why should we stop talking? Why do we? And sometimes I just tell them, yeah, because I said so. So because they need to have a reason for every single thing. They want to know why. So the next thing, have a roadmap. If you already have the set goal, you already know what you want to achieve. How are you going to achieve it? Who do you need to speak to? Where do you need to go? What do you need to do? Do you know anybody? Do you have a mentor, somebody that has been there before? Speak to people. Get advice from different people. And this brings us back to the circle of influence. People around you, people that you have within your circle of influence, is extremely important. Especially in a system like this. Information is key. You need to know, because if you don't know, you are already lagging behind. People are already forging ahead, because people they are empowered, but once they have that information, they know exactly what to do. At every single point in time, they know where to be. So plug in, have that community of good people. Okay? So I know the Bible says two heads are better than one. But I always had one. I always had a little tiny thing, two good heads. Because there's no point having two heads that, you know? So I always had my own little part that two good heads. Because you want it good. And what's the kind of conversation that you have? Whatever you do, please note that your children are watching. Have that roadmap. Tell them, this is where we are. This is what we've done so far. And then sit down and evaluate what you've done so you can retrace your steps. Okay? This is what we've done. This is the result that we achieved. Okay? This one, it didn't work this way. Okay? So we have to do it differently. And like I said, don't compare them with somebody else. Oh, so-and-so got 8 nines. Oh, she got all nines. How come yours is different? You're only coming out with 6 and 5s, and please don't do that. The next one, you've got to be dedicated to whatever you want to do. So you've got to go all in. And that's just practice, 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 practice. But at the end of it all, you want to have a balanced life. So everything is not just the academic side of things as well. And that's why the conversation I always have with parents, some people, that's why they prefer the private school to the grammar school. So because some of the private schools, they have that balanced approach to things. So it all depends on what you want. So some people, they prefer the grammar schools because in terms of the academics, the grammar schools tend to be heavy loaded. So it all depends on what you want for your child. But I always advise, please have that balanced approach to it. So the social skills, all the skills that they need as well. There's no point just having just all about academics or have you studied, have you done this, have you done that. But please just make sure that they have that balanced life. Build stamina and endurance for the race. Because I can't remember, somebody mentioned it, that in the children, they don't write, they don't do anything. Everything is quick, everything is online. And you notice that the handwriting, yes, that's one of the biggest challenges I have with the student. The handwriting, it's very, very interesting, I'll put it that way. Because half of the time, you can't even read what they are writing. And I don't blame them, because I always tell people, because they don't write. They hardly write these days. Everything is done computer. Everything is done online. And everything is done. And that's affecting, because if you're not writing, sometimes when I'm teaching the children, what I always do the whole school. Purposely, I don't write on the board. I read it out so that they can write. And it's kind of interesting. Some of the classes, when we have the classes, I always see this all the time. When they first start, within the first month, you see them doing this. And I can't stop laughing. Because you can see that they are not used to writing. So please build that endurance as well. Get them to write. Get them to write. And one of the things that I've noticed that is coming to the fore these days is about creative writing. Make sure they are creative as well. Help them to write stories. So one of the things that some of the parents, they've shared with me that they've used ChatGPT, the AI. They've just asked for questions. And then what they do is they upload whatever the child has written, they upload it on, and then they get feedback straight away. You can also use that as well. So that will help you. It will help you generate a lot of topics that they need to write about. Let them write. Develop their love for reading. So I always tell the parents, every parent wants a child to read. Or he doesn't like reading books. I've bought books. I've bought these. I've bought different books. but he will never touch them. But then I always ask the question, do you read? So, and most of the time the answer is no. But the other way I always advise the parents in terms, if your child is somebody that wouldn't pick up a book naturally, I always tell them to start from their area of interest. Now, if your child is into football or anything, get books in that area. Get them to start reading because they will pick that up because that's what they love. So always buy, don't just go, I saw this will look good, and then you pick it up and then you put it in the house. And a lot of the time, parents have the library, which is even bigger than the library that you have in Bradford as well, the collection. And nobody's touched them and they're just growing dust. So find out start from what they like, their area of interest. And then gradually, you can then pick other things. Oh, you've read something in football. Why not try something else why not just give this a go and tell me what you think? And then discuss the books with them as well. Because that way, if you review everything they do, they know you're interested in what they are doing. Because what the children want is they want you to show them that you're also interested in their education. You are interested in whatever they're doing. So please always make sure you review these things with them. Setbacks and failures are also part of learning. Please, do not allow that to affect whatever plans or whatever goal that you have for your child. So just let them know you love them. Let them know that you're still proud of them. And then you just encourage them to keep going. And finally, find a mentor. Find a mentor for them and for yourself as well. Somebody that's been through the journey. Because for every phase or wherever you are, somebody has been there before. And if you can leverage on somebody else's knowledge, it will just make it seamless. Because I myself have experienced the power of mentorship. So you would always go far. You will always go far and faster if you have somebody giving you a picky bag. Because all the mistakes that you would have made, they've made the mistakes, and then they will tell you all the pitfalls and everything. It makes it easier. It makes the journey easier. So please find a mentor, a good one, and somebody that is willing to help. Somebody that will be honest and willing to help for the family and for your children as well. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you. Let's give up a round of applause again. Thank you. I think we still have one or two questions. Okay, so a couple of questions here. So we start with
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
It's been very insightful. I have two questions actually. What you're discussing now is exactly what I was discussing with a friend this morning. I keep
I'll start with the second one, and then I'll go to the first one, because I'm happy you asked the first question, because I've been having that conversation with a lot of the parents. The first question. Now, in terms of the second question that you asked, that the child that just wants to read, I would say, in a way, that's kind of like a good problem to have, because it's better to have that problem than to have the other problem, which a lot of parents tend to have, that the child would not read at all. So what I would advise is you can put a structure in place. So like a timetable. So I don't know if he does well within structures, so that at every point in time, he knows exactly what is expected of him. So maybe I don't know what time he gets back from school. So maybe let's say from 4 to 5, this is what you're doing. From 5 to 6, this is what you're doing. And then from 6, this is your time. We normally call it the me time. So within your me time, you can do whatever you want, and then you can read. Now, what you can then do, you can have incentives attached to whatever he's doing, so that because he likes reading, and whatever money or whatever you add to it, he can then use that to buy more books. So that way, if you wash the dishes at this time, you get points, just like they do in school as well. You get points. Now, for every point that you get, I don't know, maybe you might say you get, at the end of the month, you get 50p. Once we build it up, we can then buy a new book that you want. Hopefully that will get him to do what you want him to do, because and then there's a structure to that. Now, coming to the first question, for whatever reason, I don't know why a lot of parents that I've seen always fault their upbringing. And a lot of them tend to tell me, well, what I went through, I don't want my child to go through what I went through. But then there's one part I always remind them, that what you went through that's what made you who you are. I always have this conversation, and they always believe, I didn't have this growing up. Because I didn't have this, my child must have. So, but then we keep forgetting that the fact that because you didn't have that, made you appreciate whatever you have today. Now, most of the children, I always tell them that they are too comfortable. They don't have to work for anything. Now, Christmas is coming, and everybody will go crazy, buy all sorts, gifts upon gifts, buy different things. The Xbox comes out, you buy the latest Xbox, this box, everything, and they have phones, iPhones, and all this. Why are we doing that to our children? Growing up, the parents, they were strict. So why do we have to then fault or something that is not broken? Why are we trying to fix something that is not broken? But for whatever reason, I don't know why, because I myself have been trying to dig deep. In fact, I said I'm going to probably have a platform or a forum that people will come share their, maybe there must be something that is making them fault their upbringing. Because to me, I believe that we need to go back to those principles, the godly principles, those principles, making sure that the children, they understand what is required. And I always tell people close to me, I always advise them, especially young people, I always tell them their first job, I always advise them to go to McDonald's, to go work in McDonald's. And people always ask me why. Why? The reason why I always advise young people to go work in McDonald's is, number one, the way McDonald's is built, or the way they do things there, makes the children realize that any mistake you make, you will be burnt for it. What do I mean? Now, when we go to McDonald's, a lot of us, we just see the end product. Is that correct? Okay. Now, the grill in McDonald's is about 280 something degrees. The grill, 280 something degrees. any little mistake you make or any little mishap you make, you have the scar to prove it. And the way McDonald's is so structured, the way they grill the children, I love it. Because then they can then choose. So when you're then telling them, okay, this is what I want you to do, they can then choose, do you want to end up working in McDonald's? Or you want to use your brain? And I love it the way God has made it. He's done it in such a way that you have to use one part of your body to work. So some people use their brains. Some people, it has to be, you have to use something. So I always tell my students, it's up to you which one you want to use. So you can choose to play now, and then you pay later, or you choose to pay now, and then you play later. The choice is yours. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Before I actually go into the presentation, because I've been able to catch very good information. So mine is on the post A. So I was taking notes while we were doing it. So you said that we have options, or rather, there are options like college, sixth form, ND, A level, multiply, then the C level, and then apprenticeship. Okay, so I have a son who is going to, he's year 11 soon. He's going to take his GCSE next year, and he wants to do computer science. And so when he went for PMC, the teacher, the college said it has to be sixth form, but it depends on what he wants to study. And so he said to my son, "Oh, sorry, you don't have computer science. That means you may need to go to college." So my question now is, what's the advantage of the sixth form, the advantage of college, and then what's the best for him? And what can he do now? Like, I know I've started searching for colleges in my area because I have a nephew who wrote his GCS. He's in college now. He wrote his GCS this year. So they are very different. So, I'm just answering him from time to time, asking the steps that he takes. I want to know what he's doing. And he said, "Oh, I can just take 10 minutes to be." So right now he's actually looking for a college that is going to be very cheap. And he also mentioned that we need to work backwards. So if he's going to university, what are the subjects he will need to um, the A-level subjects they need to get a certain grade in so he can go to that university. So my question to you now is, which is the best? Is it the sixth form, the college, or it depends on what the child wants to study?
That's actually a very good question. Now, it all depends on what the child wants to study. Now, when it comes to computer science, because I don't really know much about Leeds, because we're based in Wakefield. Now, there's a college in Wakefield, the Wakefield area, the Pontefract College. Pontefract College, when it comes to computer science or anything, they are very, very good. So you might also want to find out, depending on what the child wants to do, there are some colleges that are really, really good, depending on a particular field that your child wants to look at. So in that case, for Pontefract College, which is not really, it's not a sixth form, but it's also a very good. The only reason why I just like the sixth form, I just like that structure. I like the structure, I like the discipline, and that's why I like the sixth form. But there are some colleges that are really, really good. So depending on what the child wants to study, you might want to make that decision based on that, rather than just going on if it's the sixth form or the college. When? Now. No, she is in year 11 already.
I think just to also add to that, I think the universities also, if you check the criteria for each of the universities,
That's right.
computer science, you can also go backwards from that. If you know what they need, then you can also, if they are going to sixth form, they can also see what they can do in sixth form or whether it's college. Then of the two, you can still work around it. Because I don't think you need to go to college to even go and do computer science.
I, I was
That's
I,
the case.
I was going to say that, but I was speaking to somebody. Maybe I might as well just share that with you. Now, I don't advise my students to go to uni to do computer science anymore, because speaking to people in the field, you don't even need to go to a university to be in the IT field. So then why waste 3 years or 4 years to go get a degree and then be in debt for something you don't need in the first place? Because I don't really know, I'm not in the IT field, but at least the little I know, it's all about the certifications and things that they have and the experience. Am I right? Yes, I can see people nodding in agreement. So why do you want to go spend that? So I always advise my students, if you want to end up in the IT, why don't you spend 3 years doing something else? And then you can, whilst you're doing your university degree, you can start writing all the certifications and things that you need. So in that way, you have the best of both worlds. So you have a degree in a different field, but then you have the IT. So I have one of my students that did that. So now he's working with HSBC, but he's in the IT department, but he actually did accountancy. So that way, you have at least more options rather than spending 3 years, because now, from what I've heard, studying computer science is outdated now. So why don't you spend that time with maybe doing robotics and things? Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. He wants to, right. Okay. You're welcome. Because I had one of my students that just gone in and is going to do computer science. So I wasn't too happy about, not too sure about that, because I felt that he could have done something else.
Just to add to that, you're definitely right. Just that sometimes some universities give you the extra edge, where probably they will prepare you better for those certifications, or
True.
sometimes they also have placements where they put you in certain companies, so they give you that extra advantage. But you're right that with the AI and in fact with a lot of certifications, you don't necessarily need to do computer science to be able to
Thank-
do that.
I'll start from there. I'll say I disagree with you, and that's someone that have masters in computer science and I'm an IT expert.
Oh.
I don't want to go into that. I'll just you are the expert here. So, but
No, no, I'm not the expert in that. So you are the expert. So yours, I'm only just saying based on what my conversation with different experts. So
from my from what I've seen in field here, I think the best is to do the computer science, the raw one.
oh,
Once
really?
the
Oh,
rest of it,
okay.
the robotics, the AI, they all come later. But the core one, the raw one is computer science.
There you go. So
But that's a conversation for another time. So I think one key takeaway for me today is that I totally need to change my neighborhood. I just know the lighter note. Two reasons why I say that. When my friend from Kent was telling me about grammar school, I was speaking to my neighbor, and he said he had no idea. Is it Caucasian born here and all of that? And every time I say, oh, my child is going to have a lesson, he was saying, why are you stressing this boy? He couldn't just get it. So I think I need to change that neighborhood. But the question I want to ask is about um, the combined science and the advanced, what's the other one?
the triple science.
The triple science. So are you saying that we need to have the correct conversation why they are in year six now, so that we know if they are they'll be going combined science, or when does this combined
So
science and triple science start?
so
Is it in year seven?
it all depends on the school. So some schools they start in year 8, and other schools they start in year 9. So you don't need to have the conversation as long as the child is doing well. So if a child is doing really well, then automatically it's a triple science. So if it's a child, if they're not sure that the child will be able to cope, then they then advise for the combined science.
It's not about what the child wants, it's about his performance.
That's right. But then you can override that as the parent, because I've seen cases where that's happened. So if you go in and go out, okay. So yeah. So as the parent, if you then tell them that that's what you want to do, you want your child to do, then as long as they can accommodate the child, then they will do it. But it's not a conversation you need to have. It's something that just happens seamlessly. But as long as the child is doing well, so the whole emphasis is making sure that the child is doing well. So right from year 7, get the support in place. What the child needs to do, just get the right support in place, so that straight away the child then starts flying. That's exactly the extra support. You've said it. That's the because the difference I always tell people, we have ordinary and extraordinary. And what's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? Is the extra. So you've actually answered your question. The same thing applies. But the only difference is it's a bit expensive. It's a bit expensive. So I'll give you an idea. The average teacher would charge you between 30 to 45 pounds an hour. So it's a bit expensive. And that's the fact because there are a bit of shortage of teachers. There are not many teachers around now. And then for you to now find good ones. So a short story, there's a teacher that prepares people for not grammar schools and private schools in in London area down south. And what I've been told, he charges close to about £500. And believe it or not, sometimes they actually fly him to Dubai. They fly him to Dubai. And I told my parents, I'm in the wrong postcode. I need to move. I need to move down, because when they showed me some of the things, because I was fortunate enough to prepare some of my students, and some of them got in. So I was telling them, when I saw some of the things he gave, because they had the interview with him, like, really? Is this what he's charging £500 for? So I told them by next week the fees will go up. So, so. Hmm. Right. So now, COVID is created a lot of things. Now, it depends. I normally tell people it all depends on your child. Now, for a child that is very strong, I normally advise, okay, they can do the online. But if you know that your child can get distracted very easily, please. And then and you know that you don't have the time to sit next to your child, then I would advise not to do on. I for one, I really don't like the online, because I've tried it. When you do it, you ask them the question, they will all tell you, yes, I understand. But when you're in class with the children, the facial expression, you can get a feel. If I'm explaining something, you can get a feel if they understand or not. The way they look at you, sometimes they might be looking at you and they'll be, what is he talking about? You don't get that. You don't get that feel online. Because if you ask a question, oh, yes, yes. Why? Because they just want to get out, they just want to leave the class. But once you're face to face, you're in class with them, you get a better feel if the child understands or not. So I will always subscribe, I'll always tell people face to face, you can't beat it. But because of the convenience, and now most of the teachers these days, they also don't want to leave the comfort of their home as well. So it's convenient for the parents because most parents are already running from pillar to post. So they always think, okay, if I just have my child in the house, I don't have to go. That will save me. That's one trip cut out. Even the teachers as well, they don't want to leave as well because they don't have to travel, they don't want to leave. But I just like that face to face. I like to have them there where I can see them. That way you understand, you can see things yourself. And sometimes even the electronic ones where I like the paper base. I'm still old fashioned. I like the paper. Let's see what you're writing. Let it be black and white. Having things on it doesn't I'm not a big fan of it. So but everyone is different. Some people might tell you technology and things, but I just and that's what I like as well. That interface where they get used to it, the paper is they can see it, they write, they read, they spend that time, they can see that. Unlike having things on the screen, half of the time they tell you they're on screen, but they're on it. What some of the students what they do is they have different screens opened up. But what I used to do is because I know the children very well. So what I tend to do is I then ask them questions based on what I've just said. As for some of them, they fall far because they were not listening. So, and then some of them, the way, once you start seeing them drift away, they start looking in a different direction to where you know that there's something going on. You, yes. So it's actually it's yes and no. So it depends on the school. So like the state community schools, they tend to follow the government curriculum. Now, what did the children need to know across board is the same. Is exactly the same. What they need to know. Now, how they then go about getting to that destination, it's now different. But what they need to know from year one to year two is exactly the same. But then how the school choose to do it, it's not cast in stone. Everybody can decide to go. So some people might decide to do algebra now. Some people can decide to do it later on. But as long as they cover everything. You're welcome. Maybe one of the things that probably you speak to Dr. Fasai, he will give it the.
Exactly, it's very important. So the interest is very important. They must be interested in it. I have two kids, and they are very different. One will say, I can't go to places where there are bastards straight out. them maximize what they have inside of them and use the best of all these things. So that's what we are trying to. That's why I believe we need to try and get our kids to do. We need to start early as well. I think it's very important. By the time you start telling a child in year 11, go and read your book, it's gone wrong. It's gone wrong. It can still work. Like you said, some people are late starters. Maybe he has 2 months to go and he can still start. But you've almost got it wrong. So, but by, when your child is in year 7, year 8, and you don't have to tell them where's your homework, then, I've done it, and you've done something right. That means you started early. So it's a culture of, discipline, structure, and all these things when we start early. So some of these things we need to learn. I learned, it was hard for me. And me growing up as well, I know I wasn't clever in when I was growing up. In fact, I wasn't clever at all. But I knew what my parents had to do and the extra they had to do to get the best out of me. And I think that's one lesson I learned as well. Getting the best out of them, making sure that they have a structure, they have a pattern, so you don't have to be thinking, what are we doing, what are we not doing?
When you say structure, do you mean definitely trying to do a thorough, that's a very important.
Yeah, so structure is about when you start to, part of structure is, wake up in the morning. For us, we pray. Okay, we pray in the morning, then they go to shower, or I go to shower and then come back to pray. That sort of thing. And then, they eat breakfast. Even if they're not having breakfast, they eat breakfast to school. So everybody knows what they're doing. So there's a system in place. I like to put systems in place so that even when they are going to bed, they come and wake you with not prayed. You get it? So for us who are Christians, they know we've not prayed. Or we didn't pray last. Even though we did not pray last time themselves, we didn't pray last night. Because they know that we should have prayed. Do you understand these sort of things? So they know that this is. So shoes are cleaned in the evening before you, not in the morning. Not everybody. Where's your shoe? 5 minutes straight. Where's your shoe? Not running all over the place. Some kids you still struggle with them, but at least you know that you try to guide them and do what they have to do as you go along. It's a bit tricky as well when we relocated from Nigeria. I think we need to say that it's very tricky when you don't understand what really goes on. It takes a lot of learning, and we said it as well. We need to move to the right people and ask questions. How do we do this? How do we do that? What does this mean? What does this one do? So all those things will help us as we go along. Yeah.
Can I just add? I'm happy that he mentioned some of the things. And one other thing I noticed some of the parents try to do, you try to live your life or some of the things that you should have achieved through them. So, and like he said, please, it wouldn't work. So you need to find out what the child also wants. And that's why I did mention that carry them along, have that conversation, let them have an input in there so that it will be easier for you.